They may say I'm not supposed to be here today, but I'm definitely supposed to be here today to talk about Clerks 3, so let's go ahead and do that. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Movie Emporium's movie review of the newest film in the Clerks franchise, Clerks 3. This, of course, is once again directed by Kevin Smith. So, set about 15 years after the events of Clerks 2, Clerks 3 sees Dante and Randall, played by, of course, Jeff Anderson and Brian O'Halloran, doing the same exact thing they've been doing for the last 30 years. They still work and own this Quick Stop, which, of course, is the famous store from the franchise. It, of course, was, helped with Jay and Silent Bob, who funded them some money. And they're now in their 50s and kind of just doing their thing. They have a life. They just do what they need to do. And because they are who they are, and we see from the trailer, Randall has a heart attack. And this, of course, sets in motion Randall wanting to make a movie, which he's always talked about doing, but never kind of fulfilled. Basically chronicling his life and everything that he's, kind of gone through, everything he's seen. And he basically wants to just make a movie about that and put it out to the audience. And so, with that said, that's kind of, without spoiling too much, because there would be some spoilers if I talked about it, the kind of premise for this story. It's about Randall having a heart attack and him kind of coming to the middle-aged thing where you start to see your life in flashes and see how either you were really good at what you did or you just weren't, very successful. And that's kind of his plight when this movie starts. So, like this movie being 15 years later and kind of just the nature of Randall and Dante, Kevin Smith has been promising this film for that long. He has literally said after Clerks 2 that at some point he's going to do Clerks 3, but the fact that it took almost 15 years is pretty crazy. But I think Kevin Smith is one of those creators that just does what he does. He has enough money where he can kind of just go off on his own, and he's always kind of just done what he does. He's just who he is. He doesn't follow any system. He's just, when he wants to make a film, he makes a film. And I think it's really important to note that this film was something that we've been clamoring for, because we want to see kind of the trilogy capper to Dante and Randall, and to extent to some of these characters that we haven't seen since the original Clerks. So after he had his heart attack and he kind of changed his life, it made a lot of sense that he's an individual that likes to put his feelings and thoughts of his life into his movies, and we see it in every single one of his movies. So Clerks C was not going to be any different. It was going to be about a guy who had a heart attack in that situation and how it played out. So, though I don't have a problem with that, I do think sometimes it gets a little meta when it comes to what Kevin Smith wants to represent. Finally, we got this movie. Finally, it's coming out. I was super excited. They allowed me to see this early, which I was really surprised about. It's a movie that I don't think is going to get a wide release, but it's finally releasing in the theaters. It brings back characters from the original film. It brings back, of course, Dante and Randall to kind of cap off the trilogy. And, of course, talks about what Kevin Smith went through when it's his heart attack and kind of the leaning years afterwards. So it was safe to say I was really excited. I was excited when Animaniacs and Beavis and Butthead, but I was really excited for this most of all. So I saw this movie 3 times because I really wanted to get my thoughts on this film. I really wanted to get it down, and there's going to be people that hate me, and there's going to be a lot of negativity in the comments. I know what's going to happen, but I have to be honest with my review of this film, and you can kind of see where this is going. I have to say it right now, this is an absolutely awful, awful film. It really is. I am so despondent about having to say that, because I went into this movie really, really hoping that Kevin Smith could deliver on a trilogy capper for Clerks, but instead, this movie doesn't even feel like a Clerks movie. Yes, it has Dante. Yes, it has Randall. Yes, it has Kevin or Silent Bob and Jay. Yes, it has characters from the original film coming back, like Dante's girlfriend and stuff like that. Yeah, it does deal with Randall having a heart attack and kind of the situation of making a movie. But there has to be a line drawn when it comes to making a movie like this, because you're wanting to conclude your characters. At least that's what I'm assuming that Kevin Smith is doing, because it took him so long to make this movie. But what this movie does that is so infuriating is, not only does it not feel like a Clerks movie, but it literally is a movie within a movie. It's a movie about an individual that decides he's going to make a movie about his life. And basically what this movie is doing, in some terms or something like that, is recreating in a weirdly kind of strange, not very funny, original film making. It's making the original film, but with characters that are in their late 40s, early 50s. As interesting as that can be, that feels more like a documentary than it feels like a Clerks movie, and that is just... It was so aggravating when I was watching this movie, going, oh my God, I think there's something truly wrong with this movie. And I'm not saying, there are going to be people that love this movie, which is fine, But at no point did I really feel like, honestly, just kind of enamored with this film. I felt like it was a vanity project to show off like what Kevin Smith feels like as at this point of his career, which is fine because the Clerks movies do kind of represent him as certain points of his career. The thing about those movies is those characters felt like real breathing characters. Here they just feel like surrogates to Kevin Smith to unload upon. And when they go into doing like reenactments of stuff you saw in the first movie, that's not what I wanted out of this. I wanted Randall to make a movie and kind of show some of the things, but I also wanted a movie that felt different, that felt like a progression. And this feels like a whole step back, which is it's so frustrating to think about. And on top of that, you bring back Trevor Fehrman, who of course plays Elias, and they're doing some weird stuff with his character. I mean, he's always been a weird character to begin with, and Trevor Fehrman talks about that. The way this movie is shot, the way the characters are presented, especially Elias's character, there's nothing that feels connective or whole or unique. This is a character that feels like in a different universe you could do a whole entire different movie about. As much as I like Elias's character, especially in the second movie, it just feels like they've gone off the deep end. That's what this whole movie feels like. It's gone off the deep end, and I don't understand the decision making in this film. I don't care about Randall having a heart attack. That's cool. 50-year-old people, that's the kind of stuff you have to deal with, especially getting that age, and Kevin Smith being really scared about that, about losing his family and stuff like that. There has to be a point where you have to make a film. You have to make a Clerks 3 film, and that just doesn't feel like a Clerks film. It has the same jokes as you've seen a billion times before. There's moments where Dante and Randall argue that feels like, yeah, they will have their disagreements, but it gets to a point where it's the same old stuff all over again. And very similar, to something like Jay and Silent Reboot, which I liked. It feels like that. It really does. It feels like that Kevin Smith just wanted to tell how he feels about life instead of just having a Clerks movie. I was just really kind of despondent about it. I was really sad and kind of taken aback about how much I was like not liking this film at all. And on top of everything, two choices that he makes, and I won't spoil it because it will give away kind of the stuff to talk about. I just didn't understand. I don't understand the logic behind it. You're just putting these characters into predicaments that don't make any sense, and that's what this whole entire movie feels like. And like I said, the other major problem with this movie is the acting, which has never been like its like high point or strong suit. Brian O'Halloran's never been a great actor, but there is something especially off about it. Like he forgot how to deliver lines as Dante, and there are points in this movie where the acting's so like substandard that it's really bad and off-putting. I think Randall, the Jeff Anderson character, does a much better job at portraying an individual, but it really feels like after what happened in Clerks 2, which really felt like a progression, a character that just feels like a whole step backwards. And, once again, when you see the movie, you may or may not agree with me, but you'll understand. But if there was any positives to glean out of this, it's a movie that, once again takes us back to the Clerks universe, which I do enjoy, and has some funny moments, because there are some truly funny moments, but it's few and far between, which was really surprising. And one more thing I have to say is this movie looks really cheap. For a movie that actually costs more than both the first two movies combined, I don't know what the cinematographer and Kevin Smith were doing, but it wholeheartedly looks like a TV film. It's not lit properly. It just looks gross. The fact that you could tell it's digital photography is really, really bad. And maybe it'll play better in the theater, I don't know, but the way I was watching it, it didn't look good at all. And like I said, I'm trying my hardest to not be truly hard on this film, but I think in the end, I think this is just a terrible film. I really do. For a film that's supposed to be the trilogy capper of a famous franchise, maybe this franchise needs to be just left alone and just kind of let go, and Kevin Smith go off and do his podcasting stuff that he does, and the actors and actresses there in this movie just go off and do what they need to do, because clearly this movie just was misguided in every attempt. And once again, there'll be a lot of people like this. There'll be a lot of comments about my hate for this film, but just know going in that I am a true lover of a lot of Kevin Smith's films. I love the VOSQ universe. I love Clerks. Clerks is one of the funniest movies I've ever seen, and Clerks 2 is even just as funny and endearing, but there's never any point where I felt endeared or felt kind of wanting to look back on my life for the past 40 years or whatever. So overall, I'm sad to say I didn't like this film at all. I was really disappointed. And I will, I think when this film comes out, I'll talk spoilers with, you know, the show that I co-host with, you know, Jacob from Jacob Anders Reviews, about just kind of the major problems with this, and we'll go into the spoiler territory. But in the end, that's kind of where I lie. I hope you enjoy it. Maybe you'll enjoy it more than I did, but I didn't like it. So, but with that said, that's gonna be my take on the newest film in the Clerks franchise, which is Clerks 3, directed by Kevin Smith. Thank you so much for watching. So in the comments below, what is your favorite moment of Clerks? What is your favorite film in Clerks franchise? Are you looking forward to this film? If you are, more happy, glad to, you know, hopefully you enjoy it. So anyways, without further ado, thank you so much. If you like what you see on the channel, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell, top the fun is coming in next. If you like these reviews or this channel, awesome. Hit that like button, and as always, we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.